This was always my concern with Chicago. Caleb Williams is a great talent. Chicago didn't know what they're doing with quarterbacks. Caleb Williams was pressured, listen to this, on 36 of 48 dropbacks. He doesn't need a Superman cape. He needs a bullfighter's cape. And here's the other thing. What is their offense? The only NFL team averaging under 3 yards per play is the Chicago Bears.
I think this is really an issue for Chicago, just in terms of the overall team construction, like the way they decided to do it. The Bears have really put their resources into, a lot of money, a lot of draft choices into receivers. But they've had problems on their offensive line, and it doesn't really look like that's gotten much better.
We have all been waiting so long to see Caleb Williams in the NFL, and well, so far it's been pretty below average and even at times downright bad. During this offseason and even during the draft, there wasn't a more hyped up team than the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams. They had Hard Knocks, went undefeated in the preseason, and hell, even left us with this amazing scene from Hard Knocks we can all watch over and over and not get tired of it. But now the Chicago Bears are 1-1, and honestly, they don't look great. Caleb Williams hasn't scored a passing touchdown on offense, and honestly, they look terrible on the offensive side of the ball, not only in Caleb, but their offensive line as well. And in today's video, we're going to go over what the Bears need to do to fix all of these problems, as well as what the future might hold for Caleb and the Bears if they don't figure this out. And now look, in the preseason, Caleb Williams looked fantastic, posting an above average stat line and even left us with some incredible plays and showed why the Bears drafted him. But then again, everyone, as always, just says it is the preseason, and they weren't wrong. Since the preseason, Caleb hasn't looked great. Just 2 games into the regular season, and Caleb has looked far from good. He hasn't had a passer rating above 55, has yet to throw a passing touchdown, and at times is just trying to do too much, or even things he would do in college that he won't be able to get away with in the NFL. And now, yes, I know it's not all to blame on Caleb, but we're going to go over that in a minute. But when you're considered to be generational talent and being compared to the guys like Andrew Luck and even the greatest quarterback playing right now in Patrick Mahomes, you got a lot of hype have to live up to, and honestly, it might be getting to Caleb right now. Like, I think this is going to be a hot topic until Caleb does deliver and have his breakout game, which brings up an even more serious question of, is this Caleb's fault or is it the Bears' fault? And the answer, it's both. I mean, first and foremost, if you watched any of Sunday night's game, you would see Caleb is getting absolutely killed out there because, well, it looked like I was out there trying to block Will Anderson Jr. In the past 2 games, the Bears have had the largest pressure percentage in the league by 10% to the second most pressured team. Like, I mean, it's safe to say that the Bears quite literally have the worst offensive line in the NFL, bar none. It's bad. In the Texans game alone, he was sacked 7 times and pressured on 36 of his 37 dropbacks. So no wonder he isn't being successful, because he is damn near running for his life every time he catches the snap. And while yes, he quite literally does have the worst offensive line in the league, it isn't a great excuse, because honestly, in the first half, he didn't look terrible when he was getting the ball out of his hands quick, which brings me to the next reason we need to talk about. He is holding the ball far too long. Williams' tendency to hold the ball is like watching a high-stakes game of hot potato. While his improvisational skills wowed scouts, the NFL's relentless pass rushers aren't as patient. Every extra second is a ticking time bomb, and Williams is learning this lesson the hard way. And honestly, if he keeps taking hits like he did on Sunday, he won't last very long in the NFL. Like, I even saw this next-gen stat from week 1 on Caleb holding the ball too long, saying that Williams was ineffective when holding the ball for longer than 2.5 seconds, going 3 of 13 for 34 yards. And while yes, you can blame him for holding the ball too long, I do think that the scheme the Bears are calling for Caleb is a major problem and seriously affecting his playing style and confidence on the field. And I think the guys on Pro Football Talk summed it up perfectly.
But again, tell me what on the offense is supposed to scare anybody. Yeah. 1, we can't protect. 2, it's 3 guys out in a route is
it's
very
like Caleb
basic.
Williams at USC.
It's a lot like that. And USC, he could, here we go again. Oh, it's 2 go routes, and the guy on the inside's running a 5-yard out. Whoa, don't blow me away, offense. Don't be so creative. So, yeah, there's things there. And when you're playing a defense that's coached by DeMeco Ryans and company, they're going to be all over some of this basic stuff, Mike. That's a problem. And I am concerned with the way the Bears offense looks after 2 weeks.
Well, and let me just say this. It's still very early, but if you're Matt Eberflus, you got to get your stuff together, because you become the most obvious candidate to be replaced if this is a disappointing year.
Like, Williams is now facing NFL defenses, and these aren't your college coverages. The disguises, the speed, the complexity, it's a whole new ball game, and Williams is still learning to decipher the code, and I'm sure the more he does play this year, the more he will learn and figure things out. I mean, add in the fact too that on Sunday, considering that both Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze weren't 100%, that may have affected him a little, but not being able to to trust his guys on Sunday is definitely going to affect him. Not only that too, but the interceptions he did throw on Sunday, they were pretty bad. I can't lie, but again, I do think that they will get better over time the more he does start to gain confidence. And if they do change the play calling, trying to move Caleb out of the pocket and things like that, it can definitely help him out. But he's definitely gonna have to clean up these passes. Like, I mean, dudes are just completely being missed who are open, especially the one to DJ Moore where he does throw his helmet. The dude was open and he is very clearly seen to be frustrated. But then again, we have the one where he just completely extends the play. It looks amazing and then proceeds to throw the ball into triple coverage. Like, it's something that we cannot keep seeing from Caleb. But I mean, look, straight up, the number one reason that Caleb Williams is struggling right now is because of his offensive line. This post on X completely explains it perfectly, where it even shows the stat of Caleb Williams is completing over 60% of his passes when the pocket is kept clean. The problem is, though, he's been pressured on 36% of his dropbacks. So not only will he not be able to function, but no quarterback in the NFL would be able to function in that. And look, the Texans saw that weakness and they completely exploited it all game long. In their game against Houston, the Bears allowed 7 sacks, making it one of the worst performances in recent memory that I can remember. The Texans exploited weaknesses in the Bears blocking schemes, blitzing heavily and consistently pressuring Williams throughout the game. I mean, honestly, when the Texans would bring more than 5, or even when they would do basic stunts up front, the Bears offensive line was completely lost. Not only that too, but the Bears have completely abandoned, or at least cannot run the ball right now. I mean, right now they're only averaging 77.5 rushing yards per game, which further makes their pass protection issues stand out. Like, it just puts them in such predictable passing situations that the defense can either blitz them heavy or just say, hey, my 4 guys are going to go pinned ears back and go get the quarterback. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys knew I had to come through with you guys for a promo code, so make sure that you guys are using code YouTube150 for a nice 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. That's right, we were doing 125%, but we said screw that, we're giving you guys 150% instead. Again, that is promo code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit bonus on up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. And it's pretty blatant too to see all of these O-line struggles causing Caleb to suffer. Not only that too, but there have been reports of poor communication among the offensive linemen. And I mean, honestly, it's pretty easy to see when there are situations or plays where multiple players are blocking one defender while leaving another player completely unblocked, leading to sacks and hurried throws from Caleb. Cole Kmet even acknowledged that while talent is present, mental synchronization is lacking, which contributes to the O-line struggles.
Yeah, sure. I know obviously with Caleb being a rookie, they're going to test him to see what he knows protection wise. But yeah, I mean, like Coach is saying, protection's not, I know everyone wants to just look at the offensive line and, you see a sack and maybe you feel like it's on the offensive line, but there's a lot of things that go into it, whether it's the receivers having to run the right routes. And, if they're not there, that causes the quarterback to hold the ball a little bit more. And those lead to sacks, whether it's protection adjustments that, you see pressure and having to adjust off the pressure that you see and, maybe making a slide different here or there and, getting the lineman to the right spots in that regard. Or whether just a miscommunication up front on as to what play we're running. So there's a lot of things that goes into it. I don't think it's necessarily a talent issue necessarily up front. I don't think that we were just getting overmatched totally physically up front, but I think us getting on the same page mentally speaking can lead to those adjustments and we can kind of see those sacks come down a little bit.
But you're probably wondering, how can they fix some of these issues or at least just try to improve on them a little bit more? And obviously I'm no coach here. I probably would get fired if I was an offensive coordinator. Who knows though at this point, because maybe I could go coach in the NFL, but that's a different day. Like, making him play hero ball all the time is almost like we're right back at where he was when he was at USC playing hero ball all the time. They need to lean into the run game to take some of the weight off of his shoulders. Like, as crazy as it sounds, their leading rusher in back-to-back games has been Caleb. The Bears offensive line has been unable to create any effective running lanes, leading to an abysmal average of just 3.2 yards per carry over their first 2 games. Against the Texans, they managed only 71 rushing yards on 22 attempts, with Caleb Williams contributing 44 of those yards through scrambles. Like, I mean, at times it almost seems that the Bears have shown a tendency to completely abandon their running strategy, especially once they are faced with adversity. adversity. A prime example of this was evident in their second half performance against the Texans, where they shifted away from their interior runs that could have been much more effective. Simply put, they need to improve their running game. The Bears must address their issues within their offensive line, enhance communication among players, and adopt a more creative and adaptable approach in their play calling. Without a significant change both in strategy and execution, the run game is likely to remain a liability for the team as they continue through the season. It's been so bad that both of their running backs have had less than 2 yards per carry through these 2 games so far.
Running back has 1.3 yards per carry, and the number 2 guy has 1.5 yards per carry. That's a problem.
It's a butt whoop.
Khalil Herbert almost has a Jerome Bettis stat line for last night. The all-time great stat line for Jerome Bettis was 5 carries, 1 yard, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. and Herbert's got 2 carries, 3 yards, 1 touchdown last night.
It was late in the second quarter. They were negative yards running. I literally made a comment in the viewing room. DeAndre Swift got the 7-yard run, and I went, oh, they're actually in the positives now, running the ball. They couldn't get back to the line of scrimmage.
And it's not just Caleb who is frustrated at this point. His teammates are starting to show frustration too. Following the team's disappointing performance against Houston, where they managed only 1 touchdown in 2 games, DJ Moore expressed his dissatisfaction with the lack of offensive production. He highlighted issues such as penalties and the inability to sustain drives, stating, "I'm tired of the penalties and the inability to sustain drives." Even more so though, DJ Moore's frustration was clearly evident during the game, particularly when Caleb Williams missed him on multiple open plays. Even after one of the missed opportunities, he was seen visibly upset on the sideline, which sparked speculation about his feelings towards Williams' performance. And despite leading the team with 6 receptions for 53 yards in the game, Moore has yet to find the end zone this season, contributing to his growing frustration. And the crazy part too is everybody remembers this clip from the offseason before they drafted Caleb.
I don't know, y'all asked me that, last week? Somebody asked me that last week. I'm still like, bruh, where are y'all seeing this? What makes him not the quarterback for the Chicago Bears right now? I get y'all got everybody coming out. It's like 2 of them. I don't think they better than Justin, so they cool.
But that's a different video for a different time. And if it does continue to happen and they do keep getting frustrated, I'm sure that video will mean much more than it really should. So then the question becomes, what's next for the Chicago Bears and Caleb Williams? Well, first things first, they need to figure out the offensive line. The coaching staff should start implementing some sort of protection schemes to alleviate the pressure on Williams, potentially using more quick passes. He was successful in those in the Texans game, or especially if they get the run game going, just allowing for him to use play action, moving him out of the pocket, and keeping defenses off balance. Right now, it quite literally looks like Caleb is right back at USC playing hero ball with no run game, and if things aren't figured out soon, Eberflus could be on the chopping block. With names like Ben Johnson, Bobby Slowik, Clint Kubiak, Mike Vrabel, and Brian Flores all available this offseason, if he cannot win games this year and even make the playoffs, I could completely see Matt Eberflus getting fired, because it really does seem strange to put in all of this work in the offseason, working together to getting all of this talent on the offensive side of the ball, just to blatantly ignore the offensive line and put Caleb in the offense through this.
I think this is really an issue for Chicago, just in terms of the overall team construction, the way they decided to do it. You look at a team like Detroit in their division, and Detroit's got 3 really good linemen with Sewell, Ragnow, and Decker, and those guys give generally Goff a lot of protection. The Bears have really put their resources into a lot of money, a lot of draft choices into receivers, but they've had problems on their offensive line, and it doesn't really look like that's gotten much better, whether D'Amico brings it or doesn't bring it. They had trouble with a 4-man rush, a 5-man rush, and just single blocks up there have been a problem for him. So I like the receivers. I think quarterback's got a chance, but it's tough, and I think it's going to get tougher. AJ, as you know better than I, Chicago in November and December is that's a fun place to have to rely on throwing the ball. So the combination of let's say struggle running game and then having to throw a lot and pass protect a lot, I don't think that's really playing into the strength of that's not a strength of the Bears teams.
Luckily for the Bears, though, their next 3 opponents are the 0-2 Colts, who we really don't know which Anthony Richardson will show up, so they can completely win that game if the interception throwing Anthony Richardson does show up. The Rams, who can't run the ball either and has basically their whole team on the IR, and then the Panthers, who just benched Bryce and again are probably the worst team in the NFL. So after that stretch of games, they easily could be 4-1 or 3-2, so they are very much still in the playoff hunt, and I do believe they will be all year long. Overall for me though, I am a Caleb Williams fan. I do want this kid to be successful and have a long career in the NFL. I want him to live up to the hype pretty much. But if they keep calling games like this, not getting DJ Moore involved, Keenan Allen keeps getting injured, and just things like that, then it is going to be a long year for the Bears, especially if they cannot get this run game going. They need to get DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert involved in this run game and just commit to it, because once you at least get that going, it should take some of the weight off of Caleb. Like, this defensive unit it's going to finish as a top 10 unit in the NFL. They are playing stellar defense right now. I mean, they are probably one of the top 5 best defenses in the NFL right now, especially considering that they basically won them the game in week 1 and almost in week 2. They kind of kept them in the game all game long. It's just the offense never produced anything. So I do think that once they start using quicker passing concepts, moving him out of the pocket, and just kind of improvements along the offensive line as a whole, then it will definitely start to help out Caleb and keep him going this year. It also does bring up a funny situation too, because everybody kept saying, don't trade Justin Fields, keep him, don't draft Caleb Williams. And honestly, I mean, I'm not saying Justin Fields is out there throwing for 300 yards. Justin Fields still looks like Justin Fields on the Steelers, but he is 2-0 now on the Steelers. I mean, he scored a touchdown too for the Steelers, a passing touchdown. So it definitely is kind of crazy to see the parallels with these two guys. Like, Caleb is struggling still with all the talent around him, as is Justin Fields was struggling last year with the Bears. Maybe it is the offensive line's fault, and they do need to get that sorted out, because if they don't, it's going to be a long year. Again, they drafted Darnell Wright, and he looked terrible on Sunday night. So they need to figure that out, because if they don't, Caleb is not going to survive this season. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you think of the entire Caleb Williams situation? What should they do next to try and improve and just make it so that Caleb can be successful this year? Do you guys think Caleb is going to be a bust? Do you think it is going to just be terrible all season long? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, as well as make sure that you guys are using my link down below to use BetUS and bet all of your games there. Shout out to them for sponsoring the video. And if you guys did enjoy the content, make sure that you guys are commenting, and subscribing, so that way we can push to 50K this year. As always though, I will catch you guys in the next one.